In this episode, we're going to solve some vacuum leak issues and set up the carb on my LS swapped 73 Firebird. So I'm looking at ways to resolve this this brake pipe getting hot. I could reroute it, but I mean it's still going to be running pretty close, so I'm not sure how well that's going to work. So what I think I'm going to do is make a heat shield. In an ideal world, the engine wouldn't be in the car, and I'd secure it to the side of the frame there, but it's not an ideal world. So we're going to try and bend up some metal. Let me show you the metal. So I bought this heat shielding. It's pretty substantial. It doesn't weigh anything. Aluminium. So what we're going to do is cut it a bit, bend it a bit, and then screw it into riv nuts on the frame. So I made a pretty crude template, and then I transferred that to this aluminium sheet. So what I need to do now is bend it into shape. In the car, it's going to be difficult to show you that, so I think I'll just show you the end result. And then I need to secure it somehow. I may need to drill some holes. So let me get it in, and then we'll. Right, there we go. I think that'll do it. Well, I mean, we'll see if it rattles. It shouldn't do, but it's between the pipe and the exhaust, and there's a little air gap on either side, so I think we're good. That earth strap just runs underneath, and we're held on with a couple of bolts and some riv nuts. So that's one job ticked off the list. So I've started trying to set this carb up. When it was running, it was just out the box, which was fine. So there's a few things to do. So there's choke, float bowls, idle mixture, idle level, that kind of stuff. But what I've discovered when I was doing the idle mixture is I've got a massive vacuum leak, and it seems to be spraying carb cleaner. Sorry, not carb cleaner, brake clean along the runners here. It stumbles. So, and also actually underneath the carb, which is interesting. So this nice Holley intake may not be completely flat, which is quite annoying. So what I want to do is take it off. I've bought some gaskets for it. They come with O-rings, which I wasn't massively impressed with actually when I saw them. So anyway, let's take it apart and have a look. I do like this air cleaner. It's very cool. So actually these don't look too bad, certainly on the carb side. I wonder whether something else was happening. I'll have a look at the carb in a sec, but that actually doesn't look like it was leaking, so maybe there's something else. So underneath, these actually don't look too bad either. They don't stick out a great way, so maybe the whole thing's just not very flat, which is a bit disappointing for a Holley, apparently quality intake, but whatever. What I've got is this Velcro gasket, so that's going to go on. I believe the O-rings have to come out, so I'll do that and I'll put it back on. These look like cathedral ports, which is a bit surprising, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. I know the head's a cathedral port. I'll show you those. So these here, these little cathedraly shaped jobbies on the heads, but not on the intake. That's absolutely fine with the carburetor. They're basically for injectors. They don't affect the combustion at all. So in fact you can see where it was on here, so it's not harming anything. So I'm going to clean that up, put that on, and then we'll have a look at the carb and see if there's anything obvious. So looking at the carb, There aren't any obvious issues with the base of it. All these screws are tight. But one thing that is obvious is that all the bungs are really perished. So that's interesting. Don't know why that is. It's brand new. So I replaced them. I wonder whether that's actually the source of the problem. I guess we'll find out. So intake is back on. I took the opportunity to tidy up some of the wiring that goes underneath. I did also buy a Felpro carb gasket. That looks quite substantial and nice and squishy, so that should give a good seal. If it still leaks, there's a different problem. Gaskets are all in there on the intake. Yeah, I think if that leaks now, something else is wrong. I didn't see any cracks. There are a couple of bungs at the back, which you might be able to see. They're nice and snug, so shouldn't be a problem, but I'll test it again with some carb cleaner. Sorry, some brake cleaner, and we'll see. I do have some easy start actually, which might work a bit better, but anyway, different job. So carburetor back on, and I'll nip it all up and put it back together. All right, we're all back together. So hopefully when I start it now, we should get some vacuum gauge is here. If we don't, I'm going to be quite disappointed, but let's have a go and see. Some vacuum, which is good, but we also got lots of popping and banging, so I don't know whether that means too much fuel or too little. Probably too much. So excellent. Right, I'm gonna have to leave this now because it's a little bit too late, so I'll pick it up in the morning and we'll start tuning the carb, or setting up the carb at least. Tuning is slightly different, it's where you're changing jets and stuff, which we'll get onto, but for the minute that's good, pleased. So to help me tune this thing, and also to help with setting the idle, I bought this AEM air fuel ratio gauge. This is a wideband, or rather this is a wideband sensor, rather than a narrow band, which is much better. Narrow band really just tells you whether it's not perfect, which might be fine for EFI, but no, I want an accurate reading of AFR really. So the kit comes with a sensor, Bosch sensor. These on their own are quite expensive, over 100 quid I think. We've got some cable. You can change it to white background if you want to. I don't want to. And you get a bung, which also I don't need. And the headers have got bungs in, so I need to get the car in the air and bolt this thing in. And then we'll think about how we're going to run the wires. So I've hooked up the gauge. I've used the passenger side header, just because the routing of the wiring was easier. So we're coming up through here, which will be hidden by the centre console. There's a nice little grommet in there. I might gunge it with something, but we'll see. And then we've got the gauge fitted. I've run it off its own power rather than using the power for the gauges, because it's getting a little bit busy behind there. So it lights up nicely. And it seems to do that. I presume that's calibrating, or that's fresh air, I'm not sure. But it'll go to 0 in a sec. Yeah, there we go. So what we're going to do now is reset the carb, because I did cock about with it. I'm not happy that it was backfiring. So I'm going to reset the idle mixture to 1.5 turns out, and then we'll start it again and see what happens. It needs to be warm really when tuning the idle, so I'm just going to let it run for a few minutes. But let's start it up anyway. So the idle mixer screws, that was easiest to see. So we're going to go all the way in, just until it seats, and then we've got half, 1, 1.5, and we're going to do that on all 4. Okie dokie. Alright, let's fire up and see if we've still got loads of pops and bangs. Quite rich, so the lower the number, the richer it is. We just wait for the choke to open. And now it's really lean. Oh no, that's really rich. Let it warm up a bit. 10. Wow. The choke is open. We've got about 13 on the gauge. We want about 15, I think. Let it warm up for a couple of minutes.
A few minutes later.
Right, I've wound them in probably about half a turn each, doing quarter of a turn at a time. And we're now just about 11, so we're going in the right direction. So I'll let the car sit for a minute and then start it up, and I'll show you what happens. So we're sitting about 14, which is fine, and then it just climbs and climbs and climbs and climbs. I'm wondering if the exhaust pipe is too short. It's literally the header and then a small resonator. So that's a bit disappointing. I think I'm just going to stick some pipe on. I was going to do exhaust a bit later, but yeah, no, I want to know what the mixture is. So I'm going to have to order some pipe, I think, and just make something that's a little bit longer. The other thing I've noticed actually is that my vacuum hose for the MSD just collapses on itself, so I need new hose as well. Never mind. This brake pipe is cool to the touch, so I think that's probably working. Awesome. Yeah.
1 week later.
So the exhaust pipe is supposed to be happening in a couple of months. I was hoping to get by on just 2 resonators for a short time, or at least to meet my end of November deadline for the car show, which I'm not sure whether I've told you about. Anyway, there's a car show I want to go to on the 29th, so I would like the AFR gauge to work. I just want to make sure I'm not running the engine too lean or anything to damage it. So, but what we're going to do is just jerry rig some pipe. We've got some 3-inch pipe, we've got some joiners, and we've got some flexies. These flexies may not go on right now, mainly because they're weld on, and I kind of just want to bolt it up for now. I am going to weld it, and I'm going to do an X pipe, but like I say, that is a job for a few months' time. I want to do it properly the first time. But so anyway, what I'm going to do is just add some length of pipe to the existing exhaust, which I'll show you actually. So you may be able to see that, hopefully. So we've got headers straight into 2 resonators. I think they're 14-inch resonators. The O2 sensor is in the passenger side, and it says it needs 18 to 24 inches of exhaust after it, and it's got probably just about 18, so I'm hoping that solves the AFR gauge problem. I guess we'll see. So I'm gonna have to get under here and just jerry rig a couple of pipes and then start her up, and we'll see, won't we? All right. So there's no way that's not long enough. I've just put a couple of 45 degrees on the end to turn it down. It's not held up with anything, so obviously I can't drive it like that really, but it'll do for a test. What I might do is get some brackets for it, so we'll see. It's not ideal. Anyway, let's start it up and see if my AFR gauge works now. Okay, so engine is completely cold, hasn't run for days. Wait for the fuel pump. Now that's interesting. Oh, that's just fresh air. Okay. I mean, it has gone full lean, but let's see what happens. Okay. So we're lean as fuck. No, we're rich. We're Elon levels of rich. That might just be the choke. And now we're full lean again. Just let it warm up a little bit and see what happens. I'm struggling to solve this now then. I was kind of hoping it was the just the length of the exhaust, but I can't find a vacuum leak. And when I started it just a second ago, it went straight to 14.5 and then off the end. So I think it's got a problem. So yeah, I'll see if I can get another sensor then. Well, I'm starting to think that maybe it's just horrifically rich. And what's happening is the O2 sensor is getting covered in soot and just failing to read. Would make some sense. I mean, it's popping and banging on especially with the choke closed, sorry. So I'm going to pull a plug and see what it looks like. I mean, the car has just been sitting idling, so it's not really foolproof, but we'll have a look anyway. Pull a plug, see what it looks like, and I might lean it up. I'm a little bit nervous about doing that because obviously if it is lean and I lean it up more, that could be a problem, but I don't think I can kill it just idling on the driveway. So let's pull a plug and start from there, shall we? Right, I think that answers that question, doesn't it? It's crazy rich and it's furring up the sensor. So I wonder if I need to clean these or whether I can just lean it up. I'll lean it up first and then see how we go. If that doesn't help, then I'll clean the plugs, but they're going to be no, actually I'm going to clean the plugs. It'd be daft not to clean the plugs, wouldn't it? So let's do that. Right, I've cleaned up the plugs as best I can with like a brass wire brush and a bit of brake clean, and I've wound the idle mixture screws in all the way and then half a turn out. So I mean, it's not going to be rich, I don't think. It can't be, surely. So I think what we'll do is start it up now and basically just see what happens. I haven't taken the O2 sensor out and cleaned it. Kind of hoping that I don't need to, but if this doesn't work, then that's what I'll have to do. So let's start the car and see what happens. Right, so it's not cold. The choke is open, but the car's not been running for a little bit, so let's see what happens. That's not what I wanted. Right, this is Mr. MSD. So we've got our USB cable in the back there. And as you can see, hopefully, maybe, it's currently set to truck, which I read on the internet was the safest thing to do while you're just getting it running. But what I'm going to do is switch that to custom 1 with my MSD screwdriver that they give you. This is a bit awkward because it's underneath the dash. So now we should be on custom 1. Yeah, there we go. Right, let's plug the laptop in. So when you get the MSD box, they give you a little USB stick which has got an executable on it, which installs 2 applications. You've got MSD View and MSD Review. View is what you use for setting all the timing, and Review is what you use for the logging. Not really interested in logging for the minute. So hopefully it appears minutes. There we go. So view. Right. Cam sensor fault. Oh, that's a bit of a worry. That might just be because the ignition's not on. We'll come back to that. So I haven't touched this at all, I don't think. Let's look at timing tables. And we've got custom 1. So the truck one is a proper map rather than like a line graph. But I don't know what the map sensor would have been reading. It'd be interesting to find out. But it looks to me like let's assume it's around here. So we've got really late timing, 15 degrees, let's say. In fact, we need to come back a bit, don't we? So we're probably going to be around here. So that's really, really late. So it's not really any wonder that it's throwing fuel down the unburned fuel down the exhaust. So bear in mind, right? So we've got about 1,000 revs. It's going to be in the order of 10 to 13, I'm going to assume, degrees before top dead center. Now, custom 1, what have we got? Oh, this is really low as well. So what people on the internet say is to set idle at about 27 and everything else at about 30, 32, people have said. So what I'm going to do is set everything below, what did I say, 25. They all seem to have this dip. I don't know why that is. Someone did give me a reason on the internet, on one of the YouTube videos I watched, but I don't remember what it was. I'll look it up again probably. The other thing I want to do is just turn off the map sensor somehow. Temperature, I think what I need to do is zero out all of these, because for the minute we just want it to run, and we'll leave it at so it's going to take 2 degrees out at 90 degrees and then 4 degrees out at 106, 6 at 122. I think that's fine for the minute. Step retard we don't want. Launch retard we don't want. I don't think we care about for the minute. We do want to monitor engine speed, ignition timing and map. So map at the minute, ambient is 94. So what does that say on our truck map? 94. Yeah, it's like I said. So it was 13 degrees, which is way too late. Way too late, according to the people on the internet. So I guess we'll see, won't we? Fine, so what we need to do now is save that to the box. You can actually do this while it's running, I believe, which is quite cool. Right, okay. So what we're going to do now is start her up, see what happens. Not sure if I mentioned, so I backed out the idle screw most of the way, if not all the way, and I've disabled the choke. So it's going to be a very cold start. Really, we need it warmed up to do the timing, so we'll see what happens. No, isn't that interesting? Oh no, it's going to do the same thing. It's doing the same thing. Right, I think what happened there was that the choke shut. So I didn't disable it properly, obviously, but it's open now, and it will stay open with the throttle. So let's try again. Yeah, it's probably probably not going to idle now, is it? Yeah, it's running out of fuel. Okay. It might be that the sensor is all upset because of the lean, the richness and the soot. So I'm gonna try and warm it up, but it still says it's massively rich. We've got pops and bangs. Now we've gone full lean. About 1100 RPM, 30 degrees of time in. It's going to idle. Idle's very low. So my foot's on the throttle a little bit, aiming for like 800. So underneath here, there's a flathead screw pointing upwards that pushes on this little lever here, and that opens the secondaries, or it sets their resting point. The idea is that they're not getting jammed really, but you can use it for setting the idle as well. Because the idle really is just increasing the amount of air flowing through the thing. So I've loosened off the primary idle screw completely, and I've turned that little screw down there a little bit. So we'll have to see if it'll actually idle. All right. Nope, no idle. That's a bit better. He's still getting pops and bangs, and he's going lean. Timing's at 33. Revs are a little too high for idle. Right, so what I'm going to do now is lean it up on the idle mixture. So we're one turn out, I'm going to go in a quarter of a turn at a time on all four. So I've taken the O2 sensor out, and it doesn't look too bad. I have sort of wiped off the soot, so maybe that will help. I was expecting it to be worse, to be honest. I might actually blow out some compressed air, see if that makes any difference. So is it actually lean then? Oh, it doesn't make any sense. If I back out the, if I screw in the idle mixture, about a turn, it does start to pop and bang, so that will kind of suggest that it is going lean. The idle mixture screws are now at 1 1/4 turns, I think it is. Which it seems to like in terms of vacuum and idle. So yeah, maybe I'll buy an O2 sensor and just see, but it's quite an expensive experiment if there's nothing wrong with it. Right, well, I'm going to put it back in then. I'll blow it through some air and put it back in. So we've got a new problem now as well. We're spewing coolant, well, not spewing, but escaping coolant, when it's up to temperature, about 80 degrees C, 180 F, which is about where I think it's a bit cooler than we want actually. Fans don't kick in because it's not hot enough, so that must mean that the radiator cap is not right. It's the spring in it's too low, which is odd because I thought that actually the standard Firebird cap would be all right. Maybe it's, well, it's Chinese jobby, isn't it? So yeah, we'll get another cap. All right. I really don't want to end this video on a failure. So, I mean, I've got jets coming. Timing doesn't seem to have made too much of a difference. I might just buy another O2 sensor. I have asked the company that I bought it from. They've not come back to me. Failure. So I took out a plug, cleaned it, put it back in, let it run for a few minutes and took it out again, and that's what I'm left with. So yeah, so it's probably still really rich. Why is it still really rich and yet the O2 sensor says it's lean? So people have been talking about jets, but jets don't really come into it on the idle circuit, do they? I mean, they're going to arrive next week sometime. So I could try it. Probably will try it unless I can find something else.
The next day.
Right, I've just changed the sensor. Car is completely cold, not run for a day, 24 hours. Choke is disabled. It's all good. Okay, let's see what happens. So I actually believe that. Okay, let's I need it to warm up really. Tempted to lean it up a bit. I'm not sure. It's coughing and spluttering. It could be the timing because it's cold. I'm just going to let it warm up. That lifter tick is not getting better either. Let's raise the revs a little bit. This is actually promising. Must have been the sensor. I'm going to let it warm up and then check in with you in a minute. Alright, so after a few minutes we're still hovering around 10, 11. The idle's still a little bit low I think, but we've got, what have we got, 50 degrees? So I'm going to leave it a little bit longer before I start leaning things up. Right. So we're a bit warmer now, very slightly warmer, not massively, but AFR has come up a little bit. We're now more like 11 than 10. So I'm going to lean it up on the idle mixture screws and use the vacuum gauge to try and gauge where it wants to be. Oh, we're going up to 13 now as well. Or is it? Oh no, it's doing saying the same thing. Oh, it's still running out of fuel. It's running out of fuel. Okay. Oh, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this because it's dark, but put some more fuel in it, and we're going to lean it up a bit on the idle mixture. Just use this vacuum gauge and the sound of the idle. I'm going to do about a quarter, maybe an eighth of a turn at a time. Pretty low, so we'll do another quarter. Gauge. We're now sitting at 13. Right, I might leave it there. I can hear it popping. I wonder whether that's just because of the short exhaust. But I think for the minute that's how it's going to stay. So just give it a little rev and see what happens. It's all over the place, but okay. So on part throttle, it backfires really badly. That's worrying. Okay. I'm going to have to think about that then, aren't I? So I think the reason for the popping and banging with a light touch of the throttle is the transfer slots are covered. So I've just touched the primary idle, which is probably going to up the idle in general actually. So I might have to turn it down on the secondaries, but I'm going to try that now and see if we still get the popping and banging. Interesting. Opening the primary made it really lean. God damn it. Okay. So let's come back out on the idle mixture then. Come up half a turn on the idle mixture. It always seems to start at 14. Right, so we're rich now. So that was too much. So I did half a turn, didn't I? So let's come back a quarter. 11. Interesting, okay. Let's give it a little rev. Oh, that's actually much better. That seems a lot better. We're still quite rich, I think. It goes lean. Just a hair of throttle and it goes really lean. primary idle. Alright, so I've come up a bit on the primary idle. The idle's a bit high now, but we're sitting at 11, which is still rich. But we'll give it a little bit of throttle. A little bit more. It just starts popping and banging. So I'm going to take a slightly different approach to this. I think I've been leaning too much on the AFR gauge. And I'm going to do things slightly differently. So I have taken the plugs out again and I've cleaned them with proper carb cleaner. And I replaced one as well because, where is it? Because the ceramic is damaged on that one. So not entirely sure how that happened. But I've replaced that. And I've also gapped them. Now, I thought you didn't have to gap spark plugs in 2025, but the LQ9 wants quite a large gap, and these were not in spec. So I've gapped them. I bought this new little gapping jobby, pretty useful. I used to just knock them on the table, but anyway, so that's done. I'm going to fit those, and then I'm going to take the carb off again, and we're going to set the transfer slots properly on the bench, because I'm not 100% sure where they are, and I think we just need to kind of start again from the very basics. So let me whip the carb off and I'll show you the deal with the transfer slots. So I've decided that taking advice blindly from people on Facebook groups is probably not the best way forward. You get some good information, but it's drowned out by a lot of nonsense. I have had some help actually from a couple of people on Facebook, that being said. So if I've spoken to you on Messenger, then thank you very much. But I've decided the best way forward is for me to learn properly how carburetors work. And it doesn't seem that complicated, to be honest. Now, this is a Brawler 750. 750 means 750 CFM of air that goes through it. It might actually be a bit too much for this engine in its standard form. I got the 750 because I want to change the heads and cam at some point, which will need a better cam to take advantage. Sorry, a bigger carb to take advantage of it. So hopefully we're not onto a complete loser with this one, because I don't really want to buy another carburetor, but we'll see anyway. I think that probably it'll just take a bit of tuning and it's probably going to run fat some of the time, but I see no reason why the idle needs to be fat though. Anyway, so what we've got is what's special about Holleys in general, or certainly the double pumpers, is you've got these two float bowls or float chambers. So the fuel comes in here. We've got a pressure gauge, and we fill up both of these bowls. Now, we want to be careful about how much fuel is in there, because it will affect the mixture very slightly, just due to the weight of the fuel, according to David Freiberger. So I left this one a bit high, so maybe I'll lower it. So what that means is, because we have a front and a back, a primary and a secondary, we have idle mixture screws on all four corners. The idle screws allow fuel into the, an amount of fuel into the idle circuit, and the idle circuit allows the fuel to come out of these little holes here in all four, or underneath all four butterflies. You might also notice that there's another little hole down there. So that's called a transfer slot. And what that does, it allows more fuel, or possibly an air fuel mixture, I'm not entirely sure, must be air fuel mixture, into the cylinders or into the intake, and it's primarily for the transition between idle and part throttle. But we need to set the position of the butterflies. This is the primary side, and as you can see, there's quite a lot of transfer slot showing, and that's not supposed to be the case. It's supposed to be squared off. So you close the butterfly until the transfer slot is a square rather than a rectangle. So I will do that. We do have transfer slots on the secondary side as well. That doesn't appear to be a problem. No, they're just about covered. When we close the primary, we might have to raise the idle, which might uncover those transfer slots, but that's fine. That's fine. So I'm going to set these just with the idle screw, and then we'll take it from there. All right, so that's that adjusted. If you can see that, so we're looking at the little holes by the butterfly, just sort of in here. And those are a square shape now rather than a big rectangle. So that's that adjusted. I did have to change or unscrew the fast idle cam screw. So the choke's probably going to be all out of whack, but we can deal with that. Choke is not a massive issue. So it is possible to tune the mixture that the transfer slots provide, and the way that's done is through these little guys at the top here. There's some on the other side, and they are called idle air bleeds, and the way they work is they're kind of like a jet, but for air rather than fuel. And so the way that it was explained to me is that if you think of a straw that you're drinking a drink with, if there's a hole in it, the size of the hole denotes the amount of fuel you get. So the bigger the hole, the less fuel, basically. So if those are bigger, then you'll get less fuel, less drink, being vacuumed through the carb to the transfer slots. So next up we have jets. Now the jets live in here. Various sizes. These might be too big. I do have a kit coming. They haven't arrived yet. We don't know if they are too big yet because we haven't driven it with an AFR gauge. The jets do not change anything at idle. People of the internet. So particularly people of Facebook groups. Jets do not change anything at idle, is my understanding. The jets don't squirt anything into the carburetor. What happens is air going through these nozzles kind of suck it through. It's called the Venturi effect. So that might be an issue, but we'll look at that when we can actually drive the car. So the next thing we have is the squirters. Now that little guy there is a squirter. There's one on either side on this car because it's a double pumper. And what they do, they're triggered by this little lever down here, and there's a diaphragm. There's one on each side, and the spring, I think, is just to protect the diaphragm from being overpressed. And what that does is when you romp on the throttle, butterfly's open, but you haven't got enough fuel, so they squirt fuel directly into the intake. The final piece of the puzzle is the power valve. Now there's a power valve on either side, possibly. Not sure about that actually. Certainly on the primary side. And what that does, it's triggered by, or rather it's deactivated by vacuum. So when you've got loads of vacuum, say at idle, power valve gets stuck shut. When vacuum goes away, so say you're going up a hill or you're putting the car under load, vacuum drops, the power valve opens and squirts more fuel in, or rather allows more fuel to go into the intake. The power valve isn't my problem either, people of Facebook. I think they can go bad, I think. but I don't think that's the case on this particular carb. It's brand new. Now the power valve that you get on a Brawler, I think is pretty low in terms of the vacuum that activates it. So the effect of that might be that it's too lean under load. I think that it would be that way around, because you need less vacuum to deactivate it. But again, that's a problem for another day when we're actually on the road and we can do some proper tuning with it. So I think that's the carb setup as we need to at the minute. Actually, what I will do is adjust these. So we want I might do it on the car actually, but we want the squirters to actuate on the throttle. We don't want a delay, and we don't want them to be always depressed. What you want is no play, but also no pressure. So I think I'm going to throw this back on. The other thing I wanted to do was I put some stupidly long studs on for the carb because I thought I was going to put a spacer on there. I saw an Engine Masters where they were testing out intakes and spacers and that kind of stuff, and a spacer does actually add power because it straightens out the airflow a little bit. You want as much downward airflow as possible, which is why I bought that air filter actually. But I can't because it hits the hood, so I can't do that. So I'll stick this back on, and we'll have to reset the idle mixture, I expect, and we're going to start again. It shouldn't be too much of a drama this time. Just going to get the maximum amount of vacuum and then back it off slightly, richen it up very slightly, and see where we are with the AFR.
Several days later.
Actually, what I forgot to do was lower the fuel level in the bowls, so I'm going to do that first. Unfortunately, I've already filled it full of fuel, which is a bit of a pain, so it'll have to be a bit of a guesstimate. So to put the needle downwards, we need to loosen this guy and then tighten her up. Let's do that much. Let's see how we go. According to the AFR, that was very lean. So what I'm going to do is reset where we are with the idle mixture screws. So currently we are, we're about 3/4 of a turn. So we're going to come out 1, 2, 1.5 turns. It's interesting that it doesn't need a choke though, but I guess it's not that cold. And we're a bit better on the float level, so that's good. About 11 AFR on the gauge there, which is not terrible, and we had lots more vacuum, about 20, but the revs were a bit high, so try and lower the revs on the secondary and try again. That's a bit better. So finding we'll do a 1/4 of a turn at a time. I'm not very happy about. Let's try part throttle. I mean, that's not too bad, is it? It's not popping like it was before. That's fine. That's actually fine. Right, let's just warm it up a bit more. This is such a balancing act between the transfer slots and the mixture screws and the various ways to change the idle. So it seems that we've got the mixture all right on idle. It's okay on part throttle, maybe slightly. No, I think that's okay. So we seem to be wanting to be about 14, 15. I think that is a bit lean. But that might be where it lives for the minute. The vacuum is good. Vacuum's nice and steady. We've got over 20, 21, 22. Oh, I think we're going to run out of fuel. Yeah, we're going to run out of fuel. Okay. Right, we're out of fuel for the minute. This radiator cap has not solved my problem. We're still pissing coolant out of the overflow, so I guess I need a higher PSI. That's 16 PSI, which should be right because it's not getting up to anything like 100 degrees. So actually, after recording this, I realised that we were properly up to temperature, more so than last time I ran it. It was up to, it was straight up on the dial, which is probably about 200F. And we did push some more coolant out. That wasn't completely empty, but the fans were kicking in, which is good. Happy with that. So what I think is the radiator cap is actually fine. It's not boiling, but what's happening is the fluid is just expanding with the temperature and getting pushed out. So I think that's actually fine, and that I've just overfilled the radiator, that's all. So I think we'll call that fixed. Oh, I think I'm happy with this now. So we're idling. I've had to change the primary idle a tiny bit. It's like I put a mark where it used to be, that part there used to be under here, so it's about a quarter turn. It seems to be okay on part idle. We've got the float levels are now okay. The idle is a bit fat, but I think that's just the way it is. So part throttle, I think I'm alright with that. Okay, and the idle is, what's the idle? Oh, it's a little bit high actually. I would like it a little bit lower, but I think that's how it's staying for the minute. So that's carb setup done. Bit of a longer one, it was a bit of a journey, but I've learned some things, so I'm happy. Thank you all for watching. Please do like and subscribe, leave a comment, tell me how stupid I am and that I should lower the jets. So, see you on the next one.